Football at 4, John McMullen at JF McMullen. As we continue on, a lot more steam. I just listened to, John, I don't know if you saw this, Dana White making a pitch to Tom Brady to play for the Raiders. I mean, it's gotten to the point now where you got people calling, and Brady was actually on the phone with them, going back and forth. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what the heck is this? And Dana White is pitching Brady to play for the Vegas Raiders. While you keep asking, I don't know why people would want a 42-year-old quarterback. It seems that everybody wants this guy.
Well, I don't know if football people want him, but obviously fans, for obvious reasons, want him because of the high-profile nature and obviously the success. But it's probably not going to work out well in a new situation. And I keep defaulting to that because Tom's a very bright guy, a very cerebral player. He understands probably more than anybody else what it takes to succeed at that level, at the highest level. And it's not going to work in a new situation. So ultimately, I think that's how he's going to make his decision. But, it's picking up as we get closer and closer to that legal tampering period. Now we got a report about a phone call with awkward pauses between Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Oh, come on. I mean, it is what it is. I've said there are certain things I do believe, and I pointed toward LeBron James as an example. Sometimes you want to go to a certain city or a certain situation for things that have nothing to do with your sports team or what you want to accomplish on the field. If Tom has further aspirations after his career, wants to be in Los Angeles, if he wants to go home, wants to go to Northern California, okay, I'll listen to stuff like that. Awkward pauses.
Yeah.
And, Dana White obviously Dana is who he is. He's got the stroke to get Tom on Instagram, but it doesn't mean anything that Dana White wants him in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's we want you in Vegas. You got to get out here. The facility's unbelievable. It's a 45-minute flight. You can live there and go back and forth. I mean, the pitch was there, man. It was strong.
Well, and then he's going to get there, and they're going to say, oh, it's September, and he's going to turn 43, by the way, at that point. And you're going to go, oh, okay, this isn't prime Tom Brady. This is not going to turn us into the juggernaut that you think just because you're enamored with Tom Brady. I mean, nobody wants Michael Jordan right now, do they? I mean, in the NBA, at some point, everybody's time.
But the Wizards took him when he was old and decrepit, and he was still Michael Jordan to some extent.
Well, yeah, but it's not what you expected. It's not what you expected. Same thing with Joe Montana and the Chiefs. Joe was very good with the Chiefs, but he was not what they expected.
Yeah, Brady told Dana White on Instagram Live, which is crazy enough in itself, it's been a lot of patience for me. Obviously, being where I've been for 20 years, it's been an amazing experience. I don't know what the future holds right now. I'm just trying to be patient through the process. It's my first time going through it. In the meantime, I'm going to spend a lot of time with my family over the next 10 to 12 days. We have a little vacation planned, which I'm looking forward to. And that was kind of the extent of it. So my point is, no clue in there, right? There's no hint of, yep, no. I'm thinking about which city's next for me, as if but that video that was out last week with him and Edelman, and he's like, no, I'm not coming back.
He's lip reading. He actually said, let's not do this or something like that. People misread the lip reading. But, yeah, I mean, that's because it's very rarely you get a player of this stature to be a true free agent. It is a little strange that he's let it go this far, that the Patriots have let it go this far. Ultimately, I think Robert Kraft is going to put his foot in this and say, nope, you're not going anywhere. You're going to finish your career as a Patriot. You're a Patriot. That's where you should be. And I haven't wavered off that. I'm still not wavering off that.
It still seems like he's legitimately unsure, and he's really thinking about it. I have no idea what that means, but you would think that it's like, nah, these are just rumors, right? He's going back to the Pats, but no, it feels like he really might leave.
You guys feel like when LeBron, had to make his decision and he went to the Heat, like they were making it like he never got to go to college and pick what school he wanted to go to, and that's why he kind of did this whole, decision where Brady has never got the opportunity to be a free agent and just hear people's pitches. Maybe it is an enticing thing, that you never have been the guy who got to fly around and get treated like a king.
Yeah, and maybe he is curious to play for another coach or another team.
Well, that grass is never going to be greener.
Not that it's greener, but who knows?
That's it. Yeah, that's the only part I don't agree with. I agree with you want to be treated like a king and all that stuff, and
he
obviously
already is a king.
Well, that's what I mean, and to think about going home or going to Southern California, I get that, but I think, and that's what I said. I think he's too smart to say, oh, new coach, that's going to be better than the greatest coach of all time. New team, that's going to be better than the team that won 6 Super Bowls and wins 12 games on a bad year. I just think he's too smart for that nonsense, to be honest. There's no way Tom Brady goes somewhere else and it doesn't end in absolute disaster anywhere. Whatever team you want to pick.
Which, if I'm Brady, I don't know if I want to take that off. I don't know. Like, there's just no reason to go down that road. Just don't let anybody even let it creep into their subconscious that it was more Belichick than you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's a good point as well. And again, at 43, he's going to be a descending player. So you can either descend where you already have all the love and you've already built up so much equity in the bank, there's nothing you can do to be turned into anything negative in that fan base versus a brand new fan base who expects you to be the 6-time Super Bowl winner, who expects you to be the best quarterback in football, which is an impossibility at his age. It's impossible, even in New England. So that's why I say it's going to end in disaster. I've explained this with Byron Jones and the Eagles. Very good player. If you pay him $17-18 million, as speculated, people are going to expect a great player. Now, amp that up 1,000 times for Tom Brady. They're going to expect Tom Brady. Nobody cares that he's 43. They're going to say, oh, this is the greatest quarterback of all time. And then they're going to see him not be able to throw a 15-yard out and say, what the heck is this?
But what does that have to do with Brady's decision? So, here's the thing.
Because he's not dumb, Ryan.
But you're looking at it. But, John, you're only looking at it from wins and losses, success on the field. You don't know how Brady and Belichick's relationship is. They've worked together for 20 years. There has to be some tension and some I'm sick of you there, whether we want to admit it or whether you want to admit it or not. And he's never been wooed, and he's never been
Bill Belichick.
Well, there you go.
20 minutes with him.
There you go.
But the difference is Robert Kraft, and Robert Kraft and Tom Brady have a tremendous relationship, and he's the owner of the team, and he can put his foot down.
Sure.
And ultimately, that's where I think it will. Now, we brought up LeBron a couple of times. I think he's a perfect example because he's gone through this so many different times, and each was a different stage of his maturity level. You mentioned the first time in Miami. Yeah, he wanted to go to South Beach. He wanted to be somewhere, enjoy some fun. Then he wants to go back and enjoy the love of home, back to Cleveland. And then it was a poorly guarded secret that LeBron was always going to end up in Los Angeles in NBA circles because of his post-career aspirations. That's where he always wanted to end up, at least at the end of his career. and that's how it shakes out. But you see all the different stages, and Tom's at a stage of his life and his career where, as I said, if you want to try to sell me on going home, going somewhere like Los Angeles, that stuff I can buy. If you want to sell me on he wants a challenge to bring a 9-7 team to win a Super Bowl, again, he's not that dumb.
Yeah, I don't think it's a challenge. I just think it could be a combination of a lot of things. And he's won his Super Bowls, and he is 43, and he's never said, yes, yeah, but I want you to give me max money. If the Raiders throw $80 million at him and it's a fresh start, and he says, "This, I'm going to go out to Vegas and end my career in some sunshine," and whatever the expectations are, I don't care.
I can't see Brady going to a lesser
money.
I can't see him going to a lesser situation. He likes winning too much. That's all he knows.
Right, but at some point, the Patriots aren't always going to be the Patriots.
He doesn't need money. I mean, forget about him. Look at his wife. I mean, I can't imagine he's going to go to the highest bidder, and that's going to be the tipping point. That's like the only thing I would completely throw out of the equation. He just doesn't need it. And if I look at Tom, and I've only been able to interview him 2 or 3 times in my life, but the one thing you get from him, from seeing him in other avenues and other interviews and other situations, is his competitiveness. And it's absurd. People made a big deal about him leaving the field against the Eagles and not shaking Nick Foles' hand. I mean, he still lives with that loss. It's got nothing to do with the Eagles. It's got nothing to do with Nick Foles. This guy wants to win. And where's he going to go to get a better chance to win? Maybe you can argue San Francisco, and that's his home, as I said. But, I mean, that's far-fetched. That is so far-fetched that the 49ers are going to pull the plug on Jimmy Garoppolo for, again, somebody who's going to be 43 in September. Not only is Tom not dumb, John Lynch is not dumb, Kyle Shanahan's not dumb. Look at Kyle Shanahan's offense. Constant play action, constant rollouts. What, he's going to roll out Tom Brady 40% of the time? It's not a fit for the offense. It's not a fit from everything I just said. There is no fit other than Foxborough. And really, that's not a fit because they should move on from a 43-year-old quarterback. There are no fits. There just aren't.
Speaking of fits, Nick Foles is a great fit in Philly, but not so much in Jacksonville. But reports are today that they are not shopping Nick Foles. In fact, they are emphasizing that he is going to be in a competition with Gardner Minshew. So what changed that they were going to sell, trade off Nick Foles to now saying, nah, we're going to keep him?
Well, that's a heavyweight battle, isn't it? Nick Foles versus Gardner. That's like Fury Wilder 3. They're trying to gin up some interest. And I think the problem, if this was a more typical year, Jacksonville would probably be in a better situation because typically there aren't as many quarterbacks available that you can talk yourself into. Even bridge quarterbacks, like an Andy Dalton type who's going to be available, like a Case Keenum type. Those bridge-type quarterbacks are arguably better options when you think about the paycheck you're going to have to give them. There's just too many. I said yesterday, there's too many bodies, not enough chairs at the quarterback position, and that's very, very rare. And no one's going to want to pay a backup $15 million. So they got to try to do something creative, try to drum up some interest, and that's what you do, and they're doing the best they can with that.
Yeah, it looks like Foles will be staying, I guess, now in Jacksonville, which has a lot of Eagle fans out there. Pretty sad, I guess, thinking that, hey, we could possibly brought him back. But I do want to ask about another backup quarterback who's out there, and that's Case Keenum. Is he a guy that you think – I saw his name connected with the Browns, but is he a guy you think that the Eagles should maybe be interested in? Because they do need to find – we know how important that position is, the backup quarterback spot to them.
Yeah, I mean, that is projected to be one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL. I know Eagles fans like to default to certain situations, and they all remember the NFC Championship game and how poorly Case Keenum played. But remember, he was the backup quarterback that year in Minnesota at the start of the season. Sam Bradford shockingly gets hurt. He goes in and he takes the team to the NFC Championship game. That's pretty good for a backup quarterback. It's what you say about Nick Foles, who came in at the end of the season. What do you say? He got it done. He won the NFC Championship game. He won the Super Bowl. That's pretty darn good for a backup quarterback. So if you put that definition on Case Keenum, yeah, you could do a lot worse at backup quarterback. And the Eagles obviously have to make a decision there. Nate Sudfeld's a free agent. Josh McCown's a free agent. Somebody's got to be in that position. Doug Peterson has always favored somebody who has experience actually playing. Case fits that definition. So, yeah, he would be at the top of my list.
Yeah, he's a guy that when I saw that the other day, I said, that might be an interesting way to go in that one. And then, of course, real quick, Mike, the one thing, though, that Case Keenum doesn't have, if you look at the whole Doug Peterson era, all the quarterbacks he likes are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". Case is small. So from that standpoint, he's not typically the type of quarterback that Doug Peterson has liked since he's been here. He's always had 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" guys.
What about South Jersey native Joe Flacco?
That's a perfect fit. That's 6'6".
Yeah.
Guy in the pocket. I don't know, because Rich Scangarello was in Denver last year as the offensive coordinator. All indications they did not mesh very well. So I don't think that's quite as natural a fit as it might seem. If Rich wasn't here, if what they went through last year didn't exist, I'd say he's the perfect guy because he is South Jersey. He is unassuming. He is 6'6". He is a pocket passer, someone Doug Peterson would like. I think from a style standpoint, he makes a lot of sense, but I just don't see that relationship with Scangarello here now.
I know moving forward here, a lot of offseason stuff's going to be coming out. We got the 16th is when the free open tampering is about 18th? To happen? No, the 18th is the start of free agency.
Oh, right. The 16th is the start of the new league year. You get to just started that a couple years ago, the legal tampering period where you can start negotiating, and they're trying to limit what had been going on previously where guys were getting together and putting together wink-wink deals when you weren't supposed to. So they implemented that legal tampering period to try to stop that kind of stuff.
Last one for John. Football at 4, of course, at JF McMullen. Bucs GM Jason Light says he's waiting for the, quote, dominoes to fall before making the decision on free agent Jameis Winston. Does that suggest the decision has been made?
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. If you don't have your plan in place, never mind quarterback. I mean, think about that position and how valuable it is. Every NFL team has their plan in place for free agency and who they want to target, who they want to get. Now, the reason why you don't want to go on record, nobody goes on record really with that kind of stuff, is because you don't want people knowing that you didn't get your plan A when you roll out plan B or plan C, and you got to say, oh, this is our guy. So that's why you see such subterfuge. And ultimately, Tampa Bay has made their decision which way they want to go. A lot of talk about Teddy Bridgewater there. But if they're not able to get the quarterback they want, they might have to go to plan B or plan C, and maybe that is re-signing Jameis Winston or going in another completely different direction.
All right, John McMullen, Football at 4 at JF McMullen. And, of course, he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. We'll have plenty more tomorrow, some Eagles stuff to get into as well here on Football at 4. Thanks, John.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, man. He'll be back tomorrow, of course, with another edition of Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.